How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? What's the real truth about Citizen Kane?
It'll probably turn out to be a very simple thing.
Hi everybody, hope you're doing well. I'm Parker.
And I'm walking on a volcano.
And welcome back to another episode of Better Than Citizen Kane, the highly subjective show where we look at a movie and ask that titular question. Because when every movie ever made is a reasonable contender for the title of greatest film of all time, you have to wonder, Better Than Citizen Kane.
So, whether you're an unspeakable of the Oscar Wilde sort or just a fan of Hugh Grant, please join us as we discuss Maurice, 1987, with this week's guest, Amy Whiting, returning to the show. Hi, Amy.
Yay,
Hi.
welcome back, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hello, everyone. Happy month after
Welcome
Pride
back.
Month.
Happy month after Pride Month. This
Yes.
this was scheduled a month ago for Maximum Pride Month celebration.
Right.
And then various things happened.
Life kind of gets in the way sometimes.
Important things. And you know, Parker, honestly, it's impressive we made it this far without like a massive
Yeah,
amount
that
of
is
life
true.
things happening.
That's honestly, yeah, that's
like,
fair.
Our track record was good, and this is actually great because we took a long break and it was nice.
Yeah.
But we're back with Morris.
Back.
And it is Morris
Yes.
because they say Morris in the film.
Yes, and they say it throughout all the special features that I was watching today, and I will still be calling it Maurice, and that is just what's going to happen.
See, when you
Maurice
sent
is
it to
more
me,
romantic,
it
I
was it was
suppose.
Maurice. Every time I said it out loud, and then they started the film, I said, "Huh, okay."
You know, in America, we actually spell it without the U, and it's Maris.
Maris.
You know, classic English to American.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Why did you make me watch a film about Niles Crane's wife? What was that about? Why did we do that?
because I knew that you always wondered what she looked like.
I did, and I sat there for 2 hours and I never saw her face. What was
Yeah,
the point of
it's
this?
It's the running bit, Frasier. Yeah, well, what a good start, Amy. Welcome back to the show. You, of course, were on our Little Women episode last year.
Thank you.
Yes.
I love period pieces.
Yeah, you really, really do. And you brought Gay Movie.
Yes.
I should say for anyone who listened to the end of the Loving Vincent episode and heard us say Before Sunrise, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't. Hallucination.
Hallucination.
Yep.
It's
Never
gay
happened.
time, baby.
It's gay time, baby.
Amy, just refresh the audience really quick. What are your thoughts on Citizen Kane and Orson Welles, if you so choose?
Yes. I enjoy Citizen Kane. I have the Criterion here. Big fan. Big fan of Orson Welles. I do believe it's lovely. Is it my personal favorite of that era even? No. Do I think it's a good movie? Yes.
Yeah.
One of the great movies? Yes. Could be gayer. Could be gayer.
Fair.
There's
I
a
think
really
that's
good, I think it's from SNL, from like oldies SNL, of this like cut of like this guy on Weekend Update that he's like, my review, not gay enough. And that's how that's I guess what my review of Citizen Kane will be today, since today we are doing gay movie.
Good. I think that's valid. I think that's fair.
You holding up the Criterion really is evoking YouTube thumbnail. And I just see the words "not gay enough" just like curving over your head.
Citizen Kane could be Citizen Gay. I wish.
Citizen Gay. Wow.
I love wordplay.
Is that sufficient?
I think
Yes,
so.
I think
I
so.
think you covered your
Absolutely.
bases well.
So when did you see Morris for the first time, and what do you why bring it other than gay, which is obviously a plus?
Well, I didn't watch it for the first time until about 2020.
Keep going. That's
Sorry.
my fault.
Okay.
Everybody, now you have video. And the audio
Okay.
might sound a little
Yay.
bit jumpy now that we jump from over here. Continue on.
Okay. I watched Maurice for the first time in 2022. I somehow had never heard of it before. And the second I heard of it, I think it was literally like a Tumblr GIF of James Wilby and Hugh Grant making eye contact. And I was like, what is this gorgeous picture? Why haven't I heard of this? And then I was like, oh, well, then surely this is like a recent picture. No, it's from 87. and I was at the time I had been going through Celluloid Closet, which is a wonderful documentary
I love
and
that
one
doc.
of the first ever books on homosexuality in cinema. And I'd been watching everything it mentions, and they never mentioned Maurice. And I was like, what are we doing? So anyways, I immediately watched it, and I just like lost it. It was beautiful. I loved it. And I was like, why aren't we all talking about this all the time? And I fell in love with it, and I read the book. My friend got me this book, the copy of it, for my birthday a few years ago, and I read it and loved it. And to this day, I feel like it's extremely underrated as a piece of queer cinema, especially given that it was made in '87, which I think is a pretty interesting time for something like this to come out. So yeah, I just think it's a nobody. Why aren't we all talking about this all the time?
Yeah.
That's how I feel when I watch it, and every time I rewatch it, I love it more, and I gather more out of it. Yeah.
Nice.
Lovely. Parker, you'd never heard of this before.
Never heard of it in my life.
Okay.
Had
See,
no
and
clue.
this is the thing that's crazy, is that like you'd think you would have at least heard it referenced.
Especially
Yeah.
since you also just talked about how you love the Celluloid Closet.
Yeah, you would think,
Like,
but like
its absence from that is notable.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, and it's just like it's a Merchant Ivory production. Like
Mhm.
people just like seem to have some sort of like everyone just like agreed not to ever mention it or something. It's
Well,
really...
it was odd because like and I know that you've got a lot more research to dive into. But like my kind of baseline stuff I was looking at, I did find it interesting that King's College, Cambridge has the rights to all of Forster's books. And when proposed the film adaptation of this, they were hesitant because they're like, it's kind of a lesser novel. Like we don't want it to tarnish his brand, And it seems like that kind of has carried over in some ways, of like whether that's been intentional or not. It does seem to be like, yeah, we just, it's kind of a footnote, both in cinema and in literature, which is odd.
Right.
It is odd. Amy, do you want to just like give the quick preface of the book and how the book wound up being released and published?
So the book was written, I actually just highlighted this as I was reviewing my copy. It was it says at the very front, begun 1913, finished 1914, and it wasn't published until 1971 after E.M. Forster, the author, died. So E.M. Forster began writing it after he met and had a homoerotic encounter with some guy who kind of had Clive energy, and then wrote this novel in which he was determined to create a happy queer ending. Spoiler alert, this has a happy gay ending. And therefore, because of the nature of the novel, the kind of like unapologetic queerness of it, and the kind of criticism of the society at the time, and the controversial nature of it all, he only showed it to friends. He would just show the manuscript to very close friends who he knew he could trust. And it wasn't published until after he died in 1971. And he also said that he refused to have it. He didn't even want to try getting it published before then, because he knew that any editor would mandate some sort of punishing ending for the queer characters, which was typical for the time. Like, you can have a queer character, but they have to end in sadness or in suffering or in death, like with so many famous stories at the time.
Real Hays Code situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he refused to publish it, and it says my favorite thing from at the very end, he has an ending note that he has several ending notes E.M. Forster wrote about it. And he says, a happy ending was imperative. I shouldn't have bothered to write otherwise. I was determined that in fiction, anyway, two men should fall in love and remain in it forever and ever that fiction allows. And in this sense, well, I shouldn't say the rest of it because that's extreme spoiler. But, and it's dedicated to a happier year, which is a political message, because it's like at the time there was a lot of legislation going on that was homophobic. We know what that's like. And so he was writing this novel as kind of like manifesting a happier year for a happier ending for queer people. So that's all to say it wasn't published until the 70s when they felt like they could get away with a happy queer ending. And then, of course, James Ivory, who we all know and love, adapted it into his second of the kind of trifecta, with Room with a View and Howard's End being the others. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Wonderful.
Yes.
This is my first time seeing the movie for this. First time seeing the movie for this podcast, rather. Well, for this podcast, I saw it for the first time. There we go.
There it is.
But years ago, a friend, shout out Clem, who had told me of this and recommended it to me. And so I had added it to my Letterboxd watch list. And then one day I had like checked it out from the library in 2022, summer of 2022.
Whoa.
I was like, I'm going to watch Maurice. And then it was the day that Roe v. Wade was just undermined completely. And I said, I don't really want to watch a movie. So
I have like, I was thinking of a quick side note just about that, because that came up for me the other day of the anniversary of that or whatever. I have such a weird like memory of that, because I was teaching the study abroad. I was on a rooftop in Venice when I saw a bunch of texts from my friend like, hey, it happened. And I was like, oh God. And I'm just standing in this beautiful place with this awful news. Like, I guess I got to go about the rest of my day.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, it must have been really hard to go throughout the rest of your day in such a beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah, that's exactly why I brought this up.
And that's why you brought it up, and I
why
called
I
you
brought
out
it
on
up.
it successfully, and everyone agrees with me. Wow, that's so lovely though that you were there, but also wow, what a bummer.
Just like
and what an
such
awful
a
day.
weird like time and place for something.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
when I came to visit you recently and there were giant fires happening where I
Yes.
live, and I was like, that feels bad. It feels weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the day I was gonna watch Morris, and then I never did. And then it just kind of like I never tried again until this. So
Yes.
I was very happy to watch. I watched this with you, Amy, at there was a gathering that you did with people to watch Morris, and it was really lovely.
I gathered all the people I thought would like Morris, because my friend was like, I just watched Room with a View. Do you know about that? And I was like, yeah.
Do I?
Have you heard of Morris? And then she was like, no. And I was like, come over.
Come on. Huge.
So yeah, that's Morris. That's our history with it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like my next question is just kind of what have we learned about how this came to be as a movie? Amy, you watched, I believe, a special feature?
Yes, I watched some special features. I own the one second.
Yes.
I own a 2004 DVD of it, so I don't believe this is in print anymore. This was in partnership with the Criterion Collection in 2004, but it's not on the Criterion Collection's website, and they do not acknowledge it, which is kind of messed up. But it says all over this Merchant Ivory collection. But then if you look in the credits, and if you're watching the special features and see the credits, it's produced in association with the Criterion Collection. And so I would really love for Criterion to do a re-release of this, because I just feel like there's such a opportunity there. But I know that the people who have it right now have also created a beautiful Blu-ray. What's the name of it?
Is it Arrow?
I'll think of it. No, but anyways, I was watching some special features. Unfortunately, they didn't get deep into the pre-production, so I don't have as much to say about that. If anyone has some sort of research on that, I would
it's
love
some
to hear.
very basic stuff of just that James Ivory was interested after doing A Room with a View. Like for that project, read everything that Forster had written and took note of Morris and was like, oh, this could be something that could be interesting. We could make it for cheap. We can make it easy. Like, it would be very cost effective. And he has a quote that I find really interesting about like how he thought it would still be very relevant to people. He said, people's turmoil and having to decide for themselves how they want to live and what their true feelings are and whether they're going to live honestly with them or deny them. That's no different. Nothing's any easier for young people. I feel it was quite relevant. So there was something about this that spoke to him at the time period of like, yeah, this is worth talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then, go ahead.
I'm really curious, and I should have looked into this beforehand, if there was any pushback from the studio or from the production team, because it is, again, it's a queer movie from 1987 that at the time was pretty bold. And I feel like at the time that was still, it's around the same years as like My Own Private Idaho, but like those are all pretty indie niche new wave directors, and this is Merchant Ivory, who's like more established.
I couldn't find anything about pushback because I kind of assumed that there would have been some, but it sounds like for the most part it went through. It premiered at the Venice Film Festival, won the Silver Lion for Best Director. Yeah. So like it seemed to have gone over well. Not anything I can find about a lot of pushback.
Yeah.
Surprising. Like they make a note.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're good. Just they make a note about that. Specifically, they say that. Where did you go? King's College. Like their hesitation was not about the material at all. They're like, material doesn't bother us. We just think it's a lesser book. We just think it's not one of his best pieces of writing. Which I was like, oh, that's interesting. Anyway, you were saying.
Well, so in the U.S., it seems critics were mostly like, yeah, this is really well done. This is good. Reception in the UK was a little different, with the Times, questioning whether, quote, so defiant a salute to homosexual passion should really be welcomed during a spiraling AIDS crisis. So there was some of that in England. James Ivory attributed the negative reviews to the reviewers being homosexual themselves, stating in England, where almost every important film critic was gay, they came out against the film. Their reactions to it were extraordinary. You'd think that they would have been supportive, but they were afraid to be supportive. So that's James Ivory's take.
There you go.
I really need to finish reading his autobiography. It was just hot gossip on top of hot gossip.
Huge.
Yeah.
So I, despite assurances that Merchant Ivory is like well known, I am unfamiliar. Outside of like, I've heard A Room with a View and I've heard the title Howard's End, but I'm not familiar with those films. So I didn't really come to this with like knowledge of much of anything, and came away from it feeling really moved by it and its placement in like film history and in the moment that it was in, like the fact that it was made and came out, the fact that it's the beginning of arguably one of the more iconic like heterosexual romance lead actors of the 90s and 2000s. The fact that he starts here is so interesting in Hugh Grant. And it's just this kind of like, it feels like a lost gem in a sense of like, wow, this came out and has been here and it exists. And that's very interesting that it was produced in association with Criterion, that copy that you have, Amy. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah, fascinating.
But yeah, like Parker, this is your first time seeing this movie. What were your feelings coming away from it before we dive into the summary?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was really interesting. Like, I love the performances across the board. I really think that James Wilby and Hugh Grant are just stellar. Like, it's really fantastic, like, central dynamic between the two that I like quite a bit. A really lovely, like, kind of two-scene stealer from Ben Kingsley, I think, just kind of popping in for a hot second and then disappearing. Like, whoa, like, yeah, like I saw his name in the credits and I said, oh, that's interesting. And I forgot. And then the scene pops up later and it was like, oh, right.
It's a real Tracy Letts in Little Women situation.
Yes, naturally.
It's just very good in the brief time he has.
Yeah. But yeah, I liked it. I thought it was really interesting. I think for me, I went in, and I don't know if this is fair to the movie or not, I went in with kind of the bar of Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which is it's such an impossible bar for anything to hit. And so left a little bit wanting in that regard. But like in retrospect, I was talking about this off mic of like, I think like my personal like connection with the material and my thoughts on the movie, which we'll get into, was landing like a solid like 3.5. And then when I thought about it a little longer, I was like, but this came out in 87 and it's a happy ending. That's huge.
Yeah.
Like that's huge. So that bumped it a solid half star for me because I was like, that's lovely. That's lovely that we get a nice happy ending at the end of this. You know?
For one character.
Yes, for one character.
Two characters.
Two characters.
Two, of course. Two characters. I'm sorry.
But one of the central duo.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And
I don't mean that to say gotcha.
Right.
I just mean that the ending of this movie, as in the final three shots, are absolutely emotionally devastating.
It's crazy.
And it's fantastic that this movie gives you both a happy ending and also kind of, for me, in its final moments, cut deep in a way that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting because even nowadays, when you have a queer period piece, it usually doesn't have a happy ending. Like I was so hyped for History of Sound with Josh O'Connor and Paul Mescal. And then, spoiler alert for that movie, I was very upset with the ending. And like, same thing goes for almost every period. Like even, I love Portrait of a Lady on Fire. They do not end up together.
Sure.
Yeah.
Most queer period pieces, even ones produced nowadays, they don't end up together. So I thought, and that's of course just realistic, but I think it was really interesting that Maurice manages to both be realistic with its happy ending and also demonstrate how to have a happy ending as a queer person in the time. You have to reject society, and one of the characters was willing to do that and the other one wasn't. And there's still a happy ending, and I also love the complexity of that because I think it really rejects kind of like there's only one person for everybody type narrative, and it's it's complex than that. And it finds a happy ending within the societal context that they have, even if that means complete rebellion from what's expected. And but then it also has that realistic portrayal of Hugh Grant's character conforming to the Edwardian expectations and pushing out all of his feelings and natural instincts in favor of society. And it manages to show kind of the sadness of that without totally focusing on it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's what I find so deft about the ending, is the fact that it is not asking you to consider the sadness of the ending. It is saying like, I mean, there's a bittersweetness to the ending because Hugh Grant's character is kind of, it's as if his character was like, well, but we have to do the standard queer ending, which is that we of course cannot be together, and we have to, straighten up and marry women and be a bit miserable for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And the fact that this movie, in a sea of so many other, as particularly queer period pieces, but also just like queer films generally speaking, the fact that this movie has him watch the other character get the thing that he fully was like, well, but that's not.
Yeah.
But it's also because, and we could talk about that more as we go along. But, like you said, it's rejecting society. It's literally rejecting the class structure of everything, right? Like that's what allows Clive to be happy in the end.
Yeah.
So should we do the summary?
I think so. Is there any other research stuff you wanted to bring in before we start, Amy?
I was just going to say, you said Clive to be happy, but I think you meant Maurice.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. I think we can hop in on summary, and we'll just kind of chime in as we go along with the moments and thoughts and questions. Because there's a moment in like the third act that I'm really interested to ask you two about. So, onward.
So it's me. I'm okay. Great. Okay, well, the first scene in the movie is a school trip to the beach in which a young Maurice Hall, age 11, is basically instructed by his teacher, Mr. I don't even know, no, Duchy,
Yeah.
his
The
teacher
professor.
is there, and he does draw um of a vagina and a vulva, and he draws the anatomy of a
It's a
woman's
little
sex
generous.
very
It's a little
crudely.
generous to call any of those things
Yeah, that's why
that.
I was struggling, because he's really not.
Just these kind of nonsensical scribbles in the
Nonsensical
sand.
sketches in the sand as he
Yeah.
explains the sacred mystery of sex.
Another really good little quick performance in this movie of another two-scener of like him at
Mm.
the beginning and then coming back later. Like I think that Simon Callow does a really great job with this of like you can feel his warmth as a person and as an educator and also see the constrictions of society that he exists within and the lessons that are ingrained into him that like are not and as kind and heartwarming as he is as a person. It's a really, I don't know, it's a nice balance he brings.
Mhm. And also puts like Maurice, who obviously is like, this is not like for, he's an 11-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And also like, it's, I don't know, he's not responding to this. Who would? But also it's just like an awkward situation on both sides,
Mhm.
right? Because it's clear that Simon Callow's character is, also, yeah,
Yeah.
it's structure that he's is not as warm as he is. I like how you put that, Parker.
Oh, thanks.
And he also is framing it as his argument is this is the natural thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the movie is like a rebuttal of that, I would say.
Yeah.
Right. Like all the love that Maurice has with both love interests in the movie is always within these beautiful natural landscapes, most prominently in like weather coming through window, and heterosexuality is very much portrayed as a very stiff, stuffy, societal,
Mm.
boring endeavor.
Yeah.
Quite literally framing it as unnatural in a way. Is that fair to say?
I think so. I think that's a good way of putting it. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's that opening scene which I think like it does a great job of setting tone because this is a funny movie. It is like there's a lot of good humor in this movie that I like quite a bit. And also, as you were saying, Amy, like kind of setting up the thesis it's going to spend the rest of its runtime stripping down and stripping apart, which I like. It works really well for me. And then there's the big time jump. Now Morris has grown up and he's in college.
Yes, attending Cambridge, where he befriends two fellow students, Viscount Risley and Clive Durham. And
Risley's such a piece of shit when we meet him. He's so God. Like that scene opened, I was like, man, I've been in so many rooms with this guy. I know this guy. I know this guy so well.
Yeah. Well, and like they're in college, they're talking with their little literary group about the Grecian classics and kind of I'll immediately start discussing like homosexuality within the classic structure of society, which is interesting.
Yeah, and Riesling he brings up a lot of good points, and as the movie goes on, we get to side with him a bit more. But like your initial gut reaction to this guy is just weasel, like you're just like, don't talk to this guy, don't trust this guy, don't like any. As soon as he like offers Morris, he's like, oh hey, like you should come by this other discussion group we do. We should do a study group or whatever. Like all the alarm bells in my head are going off of like, don't trust this man. Bad things will happen if you trust this man. Which is just a shout out to that performance, I suppose.
Shout out to that performance, and he does come back.
Mark Tandy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, for critics at the time of the movie saying like, well, this cuts out a lot of like the philosophical and kind of more interior text and theming of the original book. And I haven't read the book. I just saw that that's something that critics were saying at the time. It doesn't feel that it is without that, I feel like this is a fairly decent allusion to even just like the idea of discussing it philosophically. I'm not sure if that reads fully to anybody.
So one thing that was interesting in the special features, James Wilby, who plays Maurice, talks about how he starts out as like basically a intellectual inferior is the phrase they kept using. And he talks about how he starts out, he's kind of just like this kid without opinions. And that's also the case in the book. The book, it's very much him trying to figure out, what does he believe about God? What does he believe about class? What does he believe about society and marriage and the roles we're supposed to play? And then he kind of comes into contact with a bunch of people with strong views and has to interrogate them. And by the end, he's made up his mind and he has opinions of his own, which is really lovely. But I frankly think that James Wilby does such a phenomenal job of kind of portraying that like brain empty, just like absorbing things people are saying. And it kind of really captures that, like, yeah, you're in college, you don't really know who you are yet. And then you meet this really hot guy with really beautiful hair. And he's like, I have opinions. And you're like, oh, I have opinions too. And I just feel like, that's like, yeah, they don't, unless they had like a voiceover, I don't really know how else they would portray his interrogation. Because I do think the movie addresses, like, he talks about like going to church and not, he talks about class and not, they like demonstrate some of these themes, and he goes to Ben Kingsley, etc., and kind of struggles with his romantic feelings. And so I think that maybe, I don't know, did those critics just want like a voiceover? Do they want like a voiceover being like, hey guys, I mean, my name's Maurice and I guess I'm a little gay, like a live Simon situation? I don't know.
Well, so that's what I appreciate how you put that, because like, I don't think the way to include interiority in a film is to include direct voiceover lines from the book. Parker and I recently rewatched The Haunting, 1963. And that is a movie that works decently well, but also struggles because it is so devoted to including Shirley Jackson's prose for Eleanor's thoughts in voiceover, echoey thoughts within the head, which over time has basically become a tool of like comedy in a lot of mediums. And so I think there are ways to include interiority and emotionality without doing that if you are adapting a book. Like, I don't think that is the only way to do it. And I think that you're right, Amy, that like, I think that his performance does put us there to a reasonable extent. Like, I think I don't feel detached and like I'm just observing him. I feel like I'm understanding his experience. I don't know. What do you think, Parker?
I think I don't know. I think that they do a great job of pacing out this first like 15 minutes to give us more of that interiority, because like I don't know that it needs to be spelled out, but giving us small moments, right? Because like I love the scene. It's very brief, but Morris standing outside in the courtyard practicing what he's going to say and then getting laughed at by people.
God, yes.
Like that, God, like those little moments, I think, do a lot of the heavy lifting of that interiority for me.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
This is very funny.
It's just very much freshman year vibes.
Very much so. Yeah. Also, I have the screenplay pulled up so I can take over kind of summary lead if you like.
Great, because I do feel like I don't want to miss any.
Yeah. You're good. That's why I pulled it up, because I'm like, it's been a minute since I watched this because of delays and such. But yeah,
Wait, do you have the screenplay, like the written text?
Say again.
You have the written text of the screenplay?
Yeah, I found the original screenplay pulled up.
I haven't been able to find it. Will you send it to me?
Okay, I mean, it says, all right, this is based on the film. Underlined, this is not the official screenplay. This is a recreation of the original screenplay. It's a transcript.
Oh,
it's a much more like it's a very well written. It's like there's prose in here.
Interesting.
So it's something, but at least like the dialogue is still here to just give me you know some bearing to go off of. But
shout out to whichever gay film student did that.
I was gonna say that is a very It's proactive.
So Risley
solution.
invites Morris to come and speak with him in his group, and he's like, I think you'd like to hear some of the things we discuss. He's like, come by
Blocking
my
him.
room.
Literally.
Wink. Which let me put a little asterisk to what I said earlier. I don't think the film is trying to say because Riesling is homosexual that he is duplicitous. It's just the vibe he gives of just a very conniving person. He seems like he's kind of got something up his sleeve all the time, which could very well be a defense mechanism that this man has to put up to get through life. But he invites Morris along. Morris has a little moment of, getting caught rehearsing what he's going to say. And then that's the first time he meets Clive. Clive is in the room. He's like, oh, I'm looking for Risley. He's like, oh, he's not here. And they start talking about music together. And he's like, I can't find the third movement. Do you know? And so they're immediately bonding about that, which is so great because we've just come from a scene watching Morris have nothing to say. To be sitting in a room full of people shooting these barbs back and forth and they tossing it to him directly to make him uncomfortable because they know he has nothing to say. And then immediately to be in interaction with someone where like, yeah, he can talk this talk. He knows how to talk about music. He's interested in this. And it's a shared passion, which does a great job of immediately highlighting his connection with Clive as opposed to the other men we've seen him interacting with thus far.
Right.
Which I really
shared
liked.
passion being a crucial theme of this movie.
Yeah. And then from there, we get just a lot of kind of these little moments of watching their friendship grow. Shout out to their other friend who I watched this with subtitles and I had to stop and breathe for a minute because it's Featherstoneha, or however you say it. But seeing it spelled out is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, that's wildly British. It's
There's
funny.
so many wild British names in this.
There are. They mentioned a goblin house at one point, and I was like, sure. And
Sure.
like Pendersley, just as a name, I'm like, God, you're so British.
I love like this little moment they share around the player piano, like listening to the music together is really, it's just a lovely little moment that I like a lot.
And they pass an apple back and forth that they're both eating, like even the apple vibes, and it's so oof. It's like
and we get to see like Morris is starting to loosen up a little bit. He's skipping class. You can see him out on the boat with Risley and Clive, and they're having these conversations about homosexuality and all these things. And Maurice kind of locks down a lot and reaches for what he knows, what the blueprint is. And they discuss all these alternatives. I'm trying to find, there's a really good line that they have about that, and I can't find the exact one I'm thinking of. Because they're talking about the unspeakable vice of the Greeks, the hypocrisy of the man. He ought to lose his fellowship. They're having this discussion about all of this stuff of the class they've just gone to.
And to be clear, the hypocrisy they're talking about is that the professor said he said, do not mention the unspeakable vice of the Greeks. And Clive, aka Hugh Grant, is rebutting that and saying, how dare he? That's so hypocritical, because without this tenet of Grecian society, the queerness, you would not have the rest of it. And so you can't omit that whole part of their life.
Yeah. Okay, here it is. So Morris says, Western civilization happens to be run on the principles of Christ's doctrines, not Plato's bloody essentials. And they go on and they argue for a bit. He's like, what do you mean? Like, that's open to interpretation a million different ways. And he throws up his hand. He's like, damn Christ's doctrine, I can't prove them, but they mean a lot to millions of people, whatever you say. And that's the end of the conversation. They just kind of leave it there while Clive and Risley are singing hymns at him, which is really funny. But it's just like we see these moments of discussing the idea of what Western civilization is built on, specifically British upper class civilization is built on, the constraints of that, how they feel about these things. We get a fun little moment of Clive and Maurice, they're skipping class together now. They're not going to they get caught on the motorcycle, which might be a little later. I can't remember.
That's a little later.
Yeah, but it's just, we get to see these moments with them, which is really nice. Culminating in this scene where they're together in, I think it's Morris's room, and they're studying, and they're just teasing one another. And at one point, he rolls Hugh Grant up on a carpet, or vice versa. I can't remember which one does it, but it's really fun. And immediately, like, there starts being a very quick charge to all of this stuff. You know, you start noticing more and more, okay, there's some chemistry here. There is something going on that they are feeling together. And then finally, I think this is a different scene as well, of they're discussing, I think, writing letters to home or something like that. He's like, well, did you write this? And it's kind of like a lean in over the shoulder and a proximity, which leads to them touching and caressing and holding one another. And they get just very physically involved. And then, do they kiss here?
Hand cinema.
Hand
No,
cinema.
so there's that hand cinema moment
Yes.
that I love that shot of, like, it's just I believe Hugh Grant's face and James Wilby's hand coming down to, like, hold his face or something, or his hair or something like that. And then they're discussing how and they're discussing how they haven't been going to church, and that's kind of been Maurice inspired by Clive. Yeah, because they didn't go to church over the winter holidays, and that was a big deal for Maurice, and so they were talking about that. And then then eventually Clive confesses his love.
Yes, because it's like everybody bursts in and they get interrupted, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. We're gonna have to do, whatever. And the group moves outside, and Clive calls him aside, and he's like, he says, "I know you read those books in the back. What did you mean? You'll understand then. I don't have to explain. Explain what? That I love you." And that, it's a really great reaction from him of just immediately, like, knowing it's true in his soul that he loves him too, but immediately running to the blueprint of, like, don't talk rubbish. That's ridiculous.
Well, he's like, that is ridiculous. That's rubbish. Like, don't say that. But also at this point, that all has happened rather quickly in the movie.
Yeah.
I mostly remember watching this and being like, whoa, like, because in my mind, this is a romance between Maurice and Clive. For it to have reached this so quickly, and for, like, in between each of these kind of scenes, these moments, you feel a sense of passage of time, right? Like, this isn't all happening one after another. It feels there's time in between that we're not seeing, where they're growing closer. And so, like, for us to reach "I love you" so quickly is so interesting, because then there's all this time left in the movie. And I feel like most stories of this ilk are like, well, we'll get to the "I love you" towards the end, and then and then it's like, that's a problem. And it's like, no, the movie sets itself where it's like, this is like end of act one, maybe. Like, this is just kind of setting us up going into the rest of the film, which I find interesting.
It leaves a nice question mark of, like, okay, where is it going to go next? Because it's not the slow burn to that ultimate declaration, like you're saying, which I think works really well. And then we get, again, the movie moves quick. Like, it's not this prolonged montage, but we get a couple scenes of, like, them at dinner and kind of, furtive glances across the room at one another, and the unspoken silence. Finally, a confrontation where Maurice shows up to Clive's room. He's like, hey, like, we need to talk. And he basically tries to worm his way out of it. He's like, I love you in my own way. And he's like, no, he's like, rubbish, as you called it. Like, we're not, it's ridiculous. You're right. And he has this really nice moment at the end, a nice and heartbreaking way of Clive just kind of shrinks into himself. And he's like, I'm thankful that it was into your hands I fell. Most men would have reported me to the dean, if not the police. And Maurice storms out. He says, damn you, Durham. And just watching, like, it's that moment really breaks my heart, because it's already such a vulnerable thing to admit your love to someone when you're unsure of their feelings for you. Add on top of that the criminality of all of that and all of the weight that brings. Like, that must have been so difficult to be going through at that time, to be feeling that way. And, like, Hugh Grant, it makes sense that this was such a star-making performance for him, because you feel every ounce of that weight in just like his hurt puppy dog eyes as he's like, again, collapsing in on himself in real time.
We should mention that this is Hugh Grant's first like big role.
Yeah.
It was the classic story of him considering quitting acting before this. And he was like getting his English degree and was just going to keep studying. And then like he said they scouted him for this movie and kind of got him back into it. And you can really, he does steal the movie a lot. And I think a lot of the confusion of this ending comes from the fact that everyone's like, what about Hugh Grant? Because he's just so phenomenal in this.
Yeah, really, really fantastic.
And also his hair is phenomenal in this.
Great
hair. Unfair.
Yeah.
There's so much discourse about like when Call Me by Your Name came out, also screenplay written by James Ivory, Timothée Chalamet's hair, the hair of it all, the European summer vibes, and then no mention, and then like I don't know, I just feel like Maurice did it first with the European summer with beautiful hair being gay.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hair first. I agree.
Here first, hair first. Hair here.
Hair here, hair first. When you're here, your hair. It's devolved. Back to the summary. But pretty quickly, like, we have maybe like a quick little scene of, you know, the college at night, and then we are in another night, and Maurice comes to Clive's bedroom, and he comes in and they confess their love to one another. They share a kiss, and then he just leaves. He just slips out like immediately. It's like, all right, bye.
I think it was a little bit of a gay panic moment. Like, oh my God, we did it.
Yep. And then there's the motorcycle scene, because then they're heading to their little picnic, and they blow off the dean. And we get this lovely meadow that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Gorgeous. Stunning. Dear Lord.
Makes me
again with
sick.
the hand cinema. Again with the hand cinema.
It's a very intimate movie and a very intimate moment in the movie, and it just looks absolutely stunning.
And again, it's like they've confessed their love for each other. They've kissed. So what are they going to do? They're going to go sit in a field, because what's natural? Being gay.
Yeah,
being gay is natural.
To be gay in nature, to be gay in field. That's where you do it.
Yeah,
that's where you do it.
Another really lovely line that I just adore from this movie is Clive saying, "Do you realize I would have gone through life half awake if you hadn't the decency to leave me alone?" And Maurice saying, "Perhaps we woke each other up."
I also love that if you'd had the decency to leave me alone. I'm gonna start smoking. I need a cigarette, I guess. I don't.
But this scene, this scene is really load bearing to the central dynamic, though, because Maurice wants to consummate this relationship. He wants to make love. He wants to kiss. He wants to hold. He wants to be together. And Clive is very averse to physicality in that way. He says it would spoil everything. Like, it's more to him a meeting of the souls. And it feels like, in retrospect, having, now you've seen the film, that is his version of keeping his emotions at a distance, because it's like, okay, once I take the cork off of this, I can't put it back. Once I'm out of the closet, I'm out, and like, that's not safe for me to do. So I will run to this field with my lover, and we can just bask in pure queer joy together, but I won't let myself exist within it, And that feels like the central point of friction between the two as the movie goes on, is that Maurice, whether through more belief in the coupling, in their relationship, or through pure naivety, just is so willing to throw it all away. Let's go. Let's make the life we want. And Clive is afraid of that. Clive is very deeply, deeply afraid of that. And that causes the main friction within the relationship, I think. And I love that it's highlighted so early in their dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Period.
As they come back, well, because the dean sees them leaving.
Yes.
And it's like, don't do that.
Yeah. And so the very next scene is the dean. He's berating Morris. And he's like, hey, you're expelled. Like, unless you write me a letter of apology, you will not be readmitted.
And it's not like he basically he talks around it.
Mm-hmm.
But he is speaking to,
because during the dinner hall scene, we have a very specific shot of him catching the look between the two. Like, he knows.
Yeah, he knows.
But he is deliberately talking around it, like you said.
Yeah, the Batman Riddler YouTube thumbnail. Does he know? Yes, he does. Yes, he does know that they're gay, and he's expelled.
He's expelled. So Morris he goes back home. He meets up with Marcus Brody, and has a fun old time.
Denham Elliott.
Yes.
Everyone at the yes.
I do want to point out that I think I don't know who made this comment in our watch, but someone made the comment that that should be a new queer stereotype of like who's riding the motorcycle and who's in the sidecar. like when people ask a queer couple like who's the blank and who's the blank, that's the new like, well, you know.
Which of you's in the sidecar?
Yeah, because it's just such a funny image to see them, these grown men crammed into a little like Wallace and Gromit sidecar.
It's very good.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Yes.
And I find it so interesting, this scene with Dr. Barry, where like he opens it as if he's fully on Maurice's side. And he's like, they weren't treating you like a man. They've insulted your intelligence, yada, yada. And then he kind of verbally slaps him around. And he's like, how dare you do this to your mother? Like, what are you thinking? You know, it just kind of puts him in his place. And he's like, she comes to me telling me to talk some sense into you. Tears in her eyes. Like, go think about what you did. Just kind of gives him a dressing down and dismisses him immediately. Don't answer me, sir. Don't answer me. I want none of your speech. You're a disgrace to chivalry. I'm disappointed and disgusted with you. Light him up. And I love his mom and his sisters all listening right outside the door. It's very Pride and Prejudice to me, of just kind of huddling around. Mm-hmm. So he's been expelled and he's just kind of hanging out and doing his thing.
He grows a mustache.
He does indeed.
He grows like I got kicked out of college mustache.
Yeah. Happens to all of us. That's where I got mine.
There's a lot of hair plot in this movie where it's like they both have beautiful, wonderful hair in their when they're in love, and then like Maurice gets kicked out and grows this god awful mustache, and then
pretty bad.
And then Clive grows a worse mustache. And slicks back his gorgeous hair.
Yeah.
Just devastating.
Yeah. Like, you truly are like, I think anyone who's homophobic could watch this and understand the price that staying in the closet is.
The true cost.
By watching, being like, why is Hugh Grant's hair not as beautiful? Because he's not allowed to be gay.
Because he's not allowed to be gay.
So he has to grow an ugly mustache and slick his hair back. You know, he has to be a real piece of shit, slicking his hair back.
That's how you know. Then from here, I don't know that we need to get into like a ton of the nitty gritty details, because like truly, like, cards on the table, it's this section of the movie that loses me a little bit. It's a lot of going to estates and a lot of talking over dinners and things like that. Like, the things that are important to know is that Clive starts getting into politics after graduating. Morris becomes a banker, is invited to Clive's family's estate. And there's, again, that kind of unspoken tension between the two of like, your room is all the way over here, so nobody can hear us over here, is kind of the implication. And you get a lot of this from like the main butler of like, does he know? He knows, you know, like there's a lot of that energy going around.
But also, a crucial scene is when Maurice first arrives at the Durham estate, and or sorry, is it vice versa? Who's going to whose house?
It's Morris going to the Durham estate. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. And Clive leads him into this bedroom and like immediately like lays on the bed and brings him to him.
Yeah.
And then the maid comes in. Can't remember her name, but she comes in.
Yeah.
And Clive is fully just like, oh, put that over there.
Yeah.
And just keeps talking to him and touching him.
Mm-hmm.
And Maurice is like seemingly like a little kind of like, but not a lot. Mm-hmm. And Amy, you pointed this out to me while we were watching it, of like, because Clive is like not seeing the help, right? Like he's like, they like, there is such a clear, I think it's such a succinct way of portraying a power dynamic. And Clive's just full on just like, oh, they won't talk, because if they do, who are they going to believe? They're going to believe me. They won't believe the help, right? Yep. Like it is a power dynamic and a power move that is crucial in setting up the class disparity and kind of what will enable Maurice to have a happy ending later, right?
Right. Yeah. Because Clive basically doesn't see the humanity of working class folks. Maurice is middle class, Clive is high class, and then of course we have the servants and the working class folks. And Clive just doesn't even see them as human beings, which again is all kind of building up to what we see in the end. Mm-hmm. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's a really good observation. I like that a lot.
But the butler is, you get the vibe that all of the people who work at the Durham estate are aware.
Well, that's the thing, is like it's an interesting comment about like upper class society at the time, this open secret that exists, right? Of like, everybody knows, but we're not going to talk about it ever, because that would be disastrous. But it's like, okay, well, yeah, we all know Clive has, his predilections, but we leave that be. We don't discuss it. It's not good dinner conversation, is kind of the vibe of everything.
And who's in the background in all of these scenes? Rupert Graves lurking in the background. His performance, I'm a little bit torn on. But he is in the background making little comments and noticing little things and pushing back on the bullshit. And it's kind of an interesting, like, they're slowly exposing you to this character.
Yeah. I had the problem with him, which is not his fault. It's just the thing that happens where if I've only seen an actor in one thing, it just becomes attached to that. I only know him from Sherlock. So the whole time I'm watching this, I'm going, Lestrade. And I'm like, no, wait.
It is him.
It is, yes.
Wow, I had not put that together.
Yeah, that was like immediately I was like, hello, young Lestrade. My goodness. And that was
Guy Ritchie's next
through no fault
series
of his own.
For Amazon. Young Lestrade.
Young Lestrade.
Just gonna keep digging deeper and deeper into that mess. Oh man, he's around.
Yeah, he's around.
There's also the character that we get introduced to around here. I know it's not until later, but Lady Anne Scott, who Clive does marry, is a delight in her bizarre stiffness as a human being.
I love her. Her performance is possibly my favorite in the movie.
It might be mine.
She's just so naive and so nice and just just says whatever pops into her head and it's devastating and she doesn't even realize what's going on. She's so
head
sweet.
empty, so sweet.
Yeah.
But she is. It's one of those things where I love too. What's so interesting about the way this movie is put together is that it is playing so much with the visual and tropic like dressings of period pieces that in any other period film, like she is so fully the Jane Austen heroine. She is so fully the love interest of like, she's charmed me. My goodness, like she just gives that vibe so much that like it makes sense logically when you're watching the movie that this is who like Clive picks as his safety net. And yet when we see that they are engaged and you get that phone call, it's just a gut drop to the audience. It's so like, oh no. And it's made worse because she's so nice. She's so lovely when you meet her.
Yeah.
And it's not because like a lesser version of this story would have a spouse who knew. And a spouse who was deliberately pulling him away and was very like conniving and very cold and like, I'm not going to let him have that kind of life. He's going to live a proper way. Like, but she doesn't. She's just so wonderfully blissfully ignorant that you can't hate her. And it's so clever because all of your animosity goes straight to Clive, because it's like, Clive, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? You know.
I will say I got ahead of myself introducing Anne Scott, because the reason that Clive breaks up with Maurice is rather unsettling.
Yes,
which is Risley's arrest.
Which, as I understand it, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but my research was saying that's an addition for the film. Is that correct?
Yeah, the whole Risley plot is kind of an addition. They've embellished it a lot. There's like mentions of it, I think, if I remember correctly. But in the book, and it's referenced in the film, the big turning point is that Clive goes to Greece and he visits this place he's built up. And in the special features and in E.M. Forster's afterword, they both James Ivory and E.M. Forster both kind of agree that was an insufficient explanation. And they both kind of seen James Ivory said something to the effect of, Forster himself seemed unconvinced as to what made Clive change his mind. But basically the idea is he goes to Greece and he changes his mind and decides he's gonna just be straight now.
Sorry, go ahead.
Even James Ivory himself in again, it's like a retrospective. He's talking about this in like the 2004 special features, and he's kind of like, well, yeah, I didn't really get into that, and thought it was a little bit weird. But anyways, so like I felt like it was interesting that they acknowledge that as almost like what's going on there. We don't know.
Yeah, there has to be something stronger there for the audience to latch on
to. I do really like the shape of Clive going to Greece, this place that he's thought of and built up in his head, and then it doesn't deliver, and that he would then maybe question whether his pursuit of his own feelings and his pursuit of a life with Maurice wouldn't just end up the same. And is it not better to not build that up in your head and better to just choose something else? Like, I really like the shape of that. It's only coming across to me now as we talk about it, and didn't really come across that way to me watching it. But like, I understand why it's like, well, let's, when
you're gestating on it, when you've had time to think about it, it's a really beautiful, evocative thought. However, I think what's going on here is it kind of ties into what I was saying earlier of like, I think without an external factor, it becomes very easy for the audience to not root for this relationship to work out, because all you see is Clive giving up, as opposed to this, it makes like you're sad, you're frustrated, but also you get it, it makes sense here because he's afraid, because there are very real consequences going on in the world outside.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
I think like,
if it's just someone deciding they don't want a relationship anymore, you can't really be like, but we want you to, like, yes, you can't argue with that.
It's easier for the audience to hold a torch for this relationship to work out if it is clear that this is being done much more around circumstance rather than like personal repression, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think like for the shorthand of film, of keeping things brisk and containing this to 2-hour runtime, it makes sense, which is also interesting because it's a choice that was suggested by Ivory's usual writing partner. She couldn't join them because she was writing a book at the time. And he gave her a pass on the script, and that was her suggestion. She said, you need something here to fill this, to give us some incentive for him to suddenly up and change. And I think
Can I read another piece of E.M. Forster's afterword here?
Yeah.
He says, so he's describing this turn of Clive's character, and Forster writes, henceforth Clive deteriorates, and so perhaps does my treatment of him. He has annoyed me. I may nag at him overmuch, stress his aridity and political pretensions, and the thinning of his hair. Nothing he or his wife or his mother does is ever right. And then this works well enough for Maurice. So he talks about kind of he as a narrator and Maurice both fall out of love with this version of Clive that has been introduced.
Very interesting. I love when authors talk about characters in that way of like, I fell in love with this character like looking at it, like I could have not done that so harsh. Like I find that so interesting when it's like, well, that's just the way it went, and you know, I fell out of love with him, and it's like, I love that. You are the means by which the story is told. You are not always dictating how the story goes. Sometimes that just happens.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yes.
Yeah,
so there is also Clive.
Right. Because Clive comes
And-
back and Morris is like,
Yes.
why'd you stop writing? I was so worried. And he's there and is starting to get pressure to make advances on Morris's sister.
Yes.
And he doesn't really. Like, they just have a nice conversation, you know, that's it. But Morris flies off the handle and they get in their argument. He forces a kiss on Clive and bites his lip in the scuffle and makes him bleed. And they panic. Like, and he's just, and it's so, like, James Wilby's performance here of just, like, I can't find it in the script right now, but like just him sobbing. And he's like, it's over. My life is over. I'm going to jail. I'm going to die. Like, and just falling apart. And then Clive having to step out and put up the front. He's like, we had a bit of a fight. He hit me. I'm going to go. I'm going to go now.
Yeah.
And so his sisters then tend to him. And I can't remember if it's immediately, like, I can't remember if she walks into the room and he has all this vitriol to say to her, if it's later. But Morris lays into his sister, and he's like, you tried to seduce him. Like, you've made such a spectacle of yourself and our family, and I can't believe you've done this. And now you've driven him away. Look what you did. This is your fault. Which is really awful. It's just a terrible, terrible
I will
scene.
say, throughout the novel, Maurice is just an asshole to women the entire time, and in the movie. The portrayal of women is very, I think, a simplification of the stereotype of, like, gay men don't like women.
Yeah.
But also it's written by a gay man, and frankly, he didn't seem to love all these female characters. But I do think it's very evident when watching the movie and when reading the book, the kind of dismissive attitude towards women, and it is a little bit disappointing where it's like, oh, there's an opportunity for some complexity here that is completely rejected. And it's not like they're treated with lack of humanity. The women are all very complex and interesting, but there's just a lack of repentance on the men's side where Maurice learns about class privilege, but he doesn't give a damn about the gender privilege at play.
Yeah. I completely forgot. I'm so sorry. I completely missed all of this stuff of, like, the trial happens and then at dinner, Clive passes out because of it. Like, he's past the bar and then just, like, collapses. And Morris kisses him in front of his mother. He's like, you don't need to tell anybody I did that. You know, just like, just brotherly love.
I was caught up in the moment.
And they call the doctor.
We've all
and
been
the doctor,
there.
like,
We've all
like,
been
no,
there
we're gonna
where
call a
your
nurse.
friend
We've all been
passes
there.
out and you get so caught up in the moment that you kiss him.
Yeah,
that
why not?
happens.
Yeah, that old chestnut. But then the doctor shows up and, like, Morris is like, I'll be his nurse. I'll tend him. He's like, no, you're not. No, get out. Go away. And then leading to that big blow up. I'd forgotten that there was more of a like freaking out on Clive's part slowly of like, oh God, everything is going to fall apart if I let myself embrace this part of myself.
Yeah.
And then there's that big prolonged not speaking between the two of them for a while. I can't remember exactly how long, but it's quite a bit. And then we get to meet his new fiancée, Lady Anne Scott. And that phone call is such a like, she's like, you're the sixth one we've called. You sixth?
Yeah.
Like,
and
She immediately wants to invest her money in Maurice's bank.
Yes. She's like, what should I buy?
We're calling because you do banking.
Yes.
Damn.
And it's just like, again, it's things like that of, they've done a good job of making Hugh Grant and his turn sympathetic, but it also is just like, it's just so heartbreaking and infuriating watching him double down on this lie he's telling to himself.
One thing about James Ivory is he loves to have his gay characters phone call the other ones about their engagement, and then for you to feel emotions about it.
Hey, listen, I love auteur theory right there. It exists. Yeah. It's just alive and well.
And then we get into kind of Maurice kind of seeking external opinions about his sexuality. He calls in the family doctor, who misunderstands and thinks he's saying he has an STD, and then he consults Ben Kingsley, and he's seeking any sort of like medical explanation for his queerness, which is interesting. It's interesting historical insight, and also sad.
Yeah, I agree.
It is. But he also does talk to does he not also talk to Barry about it? Because I know that Barry comes in and he's like, "You're fine."
I think that's later that he's. I think that's
it's later that he tells.
It's a little later. As I'm scrolling through the screenplay, another quick shout out. I know we passed the scene already, but during that confrontation scene, another lovely line I'd forgotten was Clive, "We've got to change, you and I." And Morris says, "Can the leopard change his spots?" It's good. It's good. So just wanted to highlight that because it's lovely.
Yeah. I'm glad you did, because I was rewatching that scene in the special features today, and I thought, oh, I should remember this line.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, and now this is kind of the status quo of things, is just Clive is constantly inviting him to his estate and saying, "Come and dine with Anne and I, come stay." And Maurice is just, he's torn up inside about all of this. Like, he just can't deal with it. And that's when he I can't remember where he hears about it, but he sets up an appointment with Dr. Lasker Jones, and he gets a telegram about it saying, "Hey, you've got this appointment here."
Yeah.
Like you said.
And Ben Kingsley does a performance which Kevin Spacey just stole from completely and was like, "That'll be my thing, actually. I'm going to be vaguely menacing with slick back hair." Like, I don't know. That was like my takeaway from his performance.
There's like, I was trying to figure it out when I was watching it. There's like flavors of Daniel Day-Lewis and David Lynch in the voice, just in like the way the words fit inside his mouth when he talks.
Daniel Day-Lewis is a good pull because it is Ben Kingsley being like, "I'm American."
Yeah. Like, I'm going to speak American.
I am speaking American.
It's going to be back here, and it's going to be very direct as I speak.
Yeah, he's Mr. America.
He's Mr. America.
That first scene with Lasker Jones is fascinating because it does come across as so kind of sinister in a surreal way.
Yeah.
And then his second scene in the movie is him saying, "Well, if my methods didn't work, I guess you're just gay." Right? Like, it's an interesting inversion as well there, which we'll get to. But of course, Morris going to Pendersley of course, is the full-on arrival of Alex Scudder.
Yeah. Yes.
His friends call him Scudder.
His friends call him Scudder.
Which is to say, not his friends, his employers.
Right. Yeah, which kind of puts us into kind of the rest of the movie, right? Like, suddenly it becomes, this is the main dynamic. And what I find interesting is that the movie treats Scudder with so much suspicion. Everything about the way he is photographed, everything about the way those scenes are cut is this uncomfortableness. Yes, okay. So really quick, we'll get to it. I have a question about the score, and like, as I've sat on it, I've come to terms with it more, but in the moment, there was a score moment that really like caught me in a weird way. But yeah, so we get to see this kind of, like you said, Scudder is making more comments. He's making these kind of direct notes of Morris and is defending him to the other staff too, where he's like, "Well, he's a gentleman, and he'll talk to me. He's a gentleman, not like the rest of them."
Well, and also Simcox literally is like, the butler is literally like, he hints to Alec about Morris's nature.
Well, there's also implication that the butler himself is queer. And then at the end, in the boathouse, that's like hinted at again. So there's kind of like this undercurrent. That's interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, we're pretty much there now as I'm scrubbing through. So there's the scene where Scudder comes to Morris's room. He uses a ladder and he comes into the room late at night. And
we love to come through the windows in this movie.
Yes, there's lots of going through windows. And the score here is what caught me, doubled with the pacing of the rest of the movie. Of like, it's so scary. It's so ominous. And like, I get that is because there's so much risk involved for both of them. I get that. It's just, it comes back to the Portrait of a Lady on Fire of it all. Is that like, if when they kissed, it was underscored with scary, ominous music, it would feel weird to me, you know?
Well, yeah. Well, so I recently watched Peter Weir's Green Card, starring Gerard Depardieu. And in that movie, he, we now know he was an awful, awful, awful man. In that movie, he is ostensibly meant to be silly Frenchman who is, who is romancing Annie MacDowell. And there's just so many scenes. Hans Zimmer did the score for that one. And there's just so many scenes where he'll be like, well, I'm going to bed. And then it'll play the most sinister cue you've ever heard. And you're like, oh God, he's not going to bed, is he? And it's like, that is just such a bizarre problem to have, of like, the scene itself is fine, but it's this atmosphere you're creating around it with the score that's kind of making it. Do you think that for Scudder, they're trying to be like, there's an element of danger that is hot about him at all? Or like, do you think it's like maybe
so here's the thing, is that the reason this caught me and stuck with me is because of the pacing of the rest of the movie. Is that the denouement of this is danger for most of it. It is the potential of blackmail. It's all this stuff. And it's only really the last like 10, 15 minutes that it's like, yeah, but I like you, and maybe we could be happy. And it's a pacing problem for me. It's like, if this was closer to the midpoint and we had more time to let them actually move past the danger of it all and be like, hey, but I actually really like you, and that was really lovely, and that was a nice, important moment for me, I think it would sit better. There's just something about it being so like, man, this is a really intense musical cue. And everything about Rupert Graves, like, to your point about what you were talking about, Amy, I think he doesn't quite sell the switch for me. He's so sinister and kind of conniving for most of the denouement of this, and then to suddenly be so sweet and endearing just kind of doesn't work for me. And I don't know if that's his performance. I don't know if it's because it's such a short amount of runtime there at the end. I'm not sure what it is, but this section of the movie is where I get a lot of my friction points.
Is it because they want us to believe the blackmail? Like they want us to be paranoid alongside Morris? Because I also didn't believe that. Like I was like, maybe it's because I was, at that point I was like, oh, here's our happy ending. But I was like, I had a weird vibe around Scudder, but I wasn't like, surely this blackmail plot is real and truly happening. Like,
I don't know. I bought it. I fully thought it was real. I don't know. For me, maybe that's me coming in with centuries worth of, this is going to end bad, And like, so I bought it. But I think that was part of it for me, is that like, I did buy into the blackmail. So the 10-minute turnaround of like, and now it's all great and happy just was a weird shift for me personally.
Yeah. My thoughts on this are that the musical score in the scene where Scudder comes into his room and kisses him, to this day, baffles me. I do not understand why they did it like that. I did not. I'm
glad
every
it's not
time
just
it happens,
me.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I agree that there's this kind of this like fearful atmosphere that's created that is realistic, because they are like doing something dangerous. And I also like wonder what else could have been with like a different artist involved. I don't know who made those decisions that led to that tone. I also think like a lot of Rupert Graves' line deliveries have this kind of menacing energy that I think maybe is just my own interpretation that's incorrect, but like it's like it adds to this dangerous feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's interesting. And I think I'm really there's a book called Alec, which is all about Scudder's perspective. So it's a recent queer novel. I don't remember who wrote it, but it's just it's like a book written entirely from Alex Scudder's perspective about the events of before, during, and after Maurice.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so I've been meaning to read that because I feel like that might help. Even though it wasn't written by Ian Forster himself, I still appreciate the kind of like the characterization of it all, and I'm interested to see what their theory is.
That would be really interesting because like it is, I am so much more invested in the idea of what this relationship represents rather than the relationship itself, you know, like that's I get so much joy more out of the juxtaposition of where Maurice is stopping and Clive is stopping at the end of the film rather than like I really like seeing Maurice and Scudder together, you know?
Yeah. I think the book, I'm trying to remember, I don't know if I felt very differently in the book. I do need to reread that whole ending, but anyways, it's very interesting.
So they have this consummation of the relationship, and then he believes that Alec is blackmailing him, that Scudder is blackmailing him, and is like, I know things about you, and I could tell anybody I want. Why aren't you talking to me? And that's truly that's all he wants. Is he's just like, I just want you to talk to me. Like, can we at least acknowledge each other after this? But Maurice is so in his own head about it that he can't deal with that.
Well, because he doesn't really talk to Alec about it at first, because Alec just leaves him a letter.
Yeah.
That is like, meet me here. And Maurice is like, oh God, that's like him blackmailing me.
Yeah. So he just
and then that's when we get back to Ben Kingsley. And this is the scene in which Ben Kingsley is like, hey man, my stuff is like 100% like accurate and works on everyone who isn't actually gay. So I think you're just gonna have to be used to being gay. It's like, that's kind of the basic, if I know I'm being a bit silly about it. Is that kind of
I've been kind of like, well, I find what is interesting about it is that like I thought it was interesting for the time period that rather than just being like, and you're sullied and you're broken and it's over, he's just like, move somewhere it's more accepting, man. Like you can go live, you can be yourself somewhere that isn't here. I don't know that you'll ever be able to be yourself here, but like there are places you could go that you could be yourself. And that, you know, Morse doesn't want to do that. He wants to stay where, you know, he wants to stay in his home, which makes sense. But yeah, just that little button.
I think that was just surprising to me because I was so sure this was going to be like evil conversion therapy.
I was
like that's
surprised.
the energy you have from the first scene and with what Maurice is intending.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's just kind of like, just go be you somewhere else. Like this didn't work.
What does he say? That like English have never been inclined to something. I'm trying to find it in the book here.
I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, it's interesting.
And he also is he the person that Morse talks to and is like, and I also got this letter from the guy.
Yeah. He goes to him first and he brings him the letter and he's like, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. England has always been disinclined to accept human nature, is his line.
Yeah. Again, there's that theme. Human nature.
Yeah, he said, I would advise you to live in some country, France, Italy, where homosexuality is no longer criminal. Will it ever be like that in England? England has always been disinclined to accept human nature. Which, to your point, like, it is surprisingly nice. Like, it's a surprisingly okay interaction from this doctor that kind of took me off guard in a big way.
Also, I love that he says you should go live in France. I just think it's so funny. And then I also thought of that today in the special features. They talked about in the behind the scenes, James Wilby mentioned that they broke the bed. Him and Rupert Graves broke the bed in one of their scenes. Huge. And that the crew was really uncomfortable because there was like a love scene and they broke the bed. And then Wilby was like, and then a French camera operator said, "What a man!" And it just helped the whole room diffuse.
Oh, that's
and he was like,
funny.
and then James Wilby goes, "Thank God a Frenchman was there," like as though they're like our saviors in this moment.
Wow, that's incredible.
And then there's this moment we come back around to Simon Callow coming back in as the teacher, because Scudder and Morris go to a museum and Scudder's like, all right, I am gonna blackmail you. Like, I wasn't going to before. I just wanted you to talk to me, but now you're gonna pay up. You're gonna do it. And they get interrupted by Mr. Duché coming in, and he's like, I remember you. I know you. You know, and he's like, I can't place it. I can't find it. And he can't find the name. And Morris just kind of lets him be. And it's such an interesting little moment that I really love. Is like,
Amy.
And did you notice, Parker? Did you notice this? Did you notice the little moment here?
Yes.
So the professor says when he's giving Maurice the sex talk in the very beginning on the beach, the very first scene, he says, "Trust me, you're gonna love this. And in 10 years, I'm gonna go to dinner with you and your wife." And we're going to go get dinner and we're all going to be happy together.
Yeah.
And 10 years later, the professor or the teacher dude meets Maurice and Scudder at the museum.
Yes.
And it's this moment of like, oh, that's his husband.
And he invites them to dinner.
Nice?
Yeah.
Does he not?
Yeah,
He's like,
does.
do you want to come join us for dinner? And they're like, oh, no. But like,
yeah.
Amy like put that thought
That's
into
really
my ears as we were
lovely.
watching, and I was
That's
like,
very
oh.
nice.
So
I like that a lot. That's
but
really
you said you loved that moment too.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, like that moment spoke to me in a big way, and like
what about
does
it
a lot of
spoke
the
to
heavy
you?
lifting for Alex turn suddenly to be like, no, I don't want to do that to you. You know?
Yeah. But like what do you feel spoke to you about it, Parker?
I think just like that gentleness of, again, I believe from his performance that this is a very kind-hearted man who is restricted by the society he lives in. And so as a teacher, he is expected to say these things, and he believes them. I mean, he calls to his wife right after this. Like, he has a wife and kids, and like, he seems very happy and fulfilled within his heterosexuality. But I find it very interesting that like, there is clearly a spark of just genuine human compassion in him. And I love that coming to fruition here, and like a nice little bookend from the opening of the film, because I'm always fascinated by how we open movies, especially when there's a time jump of like, okay, why is this here? What is the purpose for it? And on one hand, it is presenting the thesis that we're going to deconstruct, but also it is a really nice setup and payoff of human acceptance, which I really love.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well said.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of in the last stretch. So Scudder and Morris go and basically just go get a hotel room, and they sleep together again. And Morris is like, what if you stayed here with me? What if you didn't go? Because he's going to Argentina with his family.
Argentina. Yeah.
They're going off.
Scudders are going to Argentina.
And he's like, no, I have a life to live. You have a life to live. Like, that's not going to happen. And, you know, they have this little quiet moment together of kind of saying goodbye. Let's see. There's something in here that I liked. You paid for this room in advance, didn't you? I mean, they won't stop me downstairs or anything. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
It's a nice little button on the end of the scene.
And once again, just returning to that class dynamic of Alec immediately being like, am I going to be in trouble just leaving here? Like, is there money involved?
Well, and there's also this interesting element of it where, so again, Maurice is kind of between these two classes. And he pitches to Scudder, Alec, he's like, hey, well, why don't we just like come up here another weekend? And Alec is like, I can't afford that. I spent all my savings on this. Yeah. And Maurice realizes that he's attempting to take this route Clive took, where it's like, I'll see you on the weekends. We'll like mess around on the weekends at some hotel, and then we'll go back to our regular lives into society and pretend everything is fine. And Alec is saying, no, we must reject that. We can't. That's not practical, financially feasible for my class. It's this or nothing is basically, and so there's like this area that Clive can live in as like a closeted man, where he can afford to like have his little weekend getaways and everything. And Alec is saying, I can't afford that. That's not going to happen for me.
It is a nice structure to have. Like, it is nice that like the first half of the movie or so is Morris, engaging with the upper class, and then the latter half is him engaging with the working class, and the fact that it's like Morris as our central character is like having romances within these two classes, and finds that of course the one that he can be happy with is someone who is free of the societal expectations, but also is still barred from fully living the way that Morris wants to. Like both of them are barred from being with, as they assume, barred from being with Maurice because of their class.
Yeah.
Right. And Morris is just like, but can't we just like be happy? Again, he doesn't ever say that, but it's like, this is him fully exploring like, well, this is only natural. Like, and again, it would be like a different movie if he had some sort of big, speech at the end where he's like, but you see, like class is not, that is not natural. What is natural is love. Like, it's not that, but that is so present throughout the film and through Morris being our central character that it is. I hadn't fully thought about like Alec being like, I can't afford to do that, and so he's like, oh right, then, and what's the ending?
Yes, and so we arrive at the conclusion. So Morris goes to the boat where Scudder's family is. They're waiting for him, and he never shows up. And that's Morris immediately going, he's saying yes, he accepted my offer. So he goes straight back to Clive's estate, and Clive is in the middle of some party, and he gets his attention through the window. He's like, don't tell Anne I'm here. I need to talk to you. And he's like, you're being ridiculous. What are you doing? He's like, I need to tell you right now because this is the last, like, I will not speak to you about this after this. Like, I'm going to go live my life. This might be the last time we see each other. I'm going to tell you everything now. And he tells him that he and Scudder, he says, I've shared with Alec. And it's so good. It's so good.
When you have such good sex, you have to run to your
ex and be
house
like,
in the middle of the night.
Your ex's house? Hey.
Yes. It's a good.
It's beautiful to call it I've shared with. Like, I just think that's such a beautiful.
It's a really lovely setup of lines of Clive going, I'm more sorry for you than I can possibly say, and I do beg you to resist the return to this obsession. And Morris replies, I don't need advice. I'm flesh and blood, Clive, if you'll condescend to such, if you can consent to such low things. I've shared with Alec. Shared what? Everything. It's good. It's good. And like, see, like really it's more like Morris's description of this relationship does so much more for me than the relationship itself. Like watching him and Scudder, I'm like, okay, it doesn't do a bunch for me, but seeing the way he lights up does. Absolutely. And they have this conversation in the garden.
Yeah, they have a conversation about this in the garden, in the outdoors. He has to force Clive to come out of the
house. Society and meet me in nature to have this conversation. Yep, it's really, really good.
He goes and he finds Alec at the boathouse.
Yep.
And
again, these all, I feel like there's a lot of motifs in this that are echoed later in Call Me by Your Name with like the field. The first kiss in Call Me by Your Name is in like a similar field to the field that they're like lying together in, and then again like this meeting you in the evening on someone's porch to like confess what's been going on. This is all very, I don't know, it's just like the cinematic language of being gay in the 80s, I guess. I don't know.
I think that's fair.
Cinematic language of being gay in the 80s. It's a beautiful, beautiful.
I wasn't born in the 80s, my bad.
Fair.
But that would be a beautiful documentary, and I like
that. I like that. And then we come to maybe one of the greatest endings to a movie. Like, it truly, like, there are things about this movie that don't work for me, and I've talked about a lot of them, but like, wow, those last 3 shots, like, it's
kind of, and I don't know how it reads in the book, but it is a testament to what film can do as an art form, which is just convey so much emotion in 2 cuts, right? Of
present day Hugh Grant looking out the window.
Yes, like more. Alec left his family, and he tells Morris at the last line he says is, now we shan't never be parted.
Yes.
And it's it's got a double negative. It is kind of the opposite of what I don't know, like it's not an antithesis, but it's not, King's College,
Clive.
Cambridge, it's not Clive, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, they just have this beautiful embrace next to a fire in like an old, like rundown boathouse. And then we go to Clive preparing for bed. Mm-hmm. and like we previously had seen him getting ready for bed with his wife, and like he just is like, doesn't even really say goodnight to her, and they just lie next to each other, and she clearly looks disappointed.
Yeah,
like we've already seen the internal nature of this marriage, which is that Clive is not really trying to have like a sexual relationship with her. He just they just are married.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And poor Anne, who is oblivious to all of this, probably blames herself. But so now we have Clive preparing for bed, mm-hmm. and he goes to the window to close the window, and he looks out the window, and we see Maurice in college beckoning for him to come with him, mm-hmm. and then running off. And then we just like cut back to Clive.
And right? It says, who are you talking to? He says, no one. I was just trying out a speech.
And again, the score here. So the score doesn't work for me in that one scene when Alec kisses him for the first time. The score works for me here.
It's beautiful. It's so lovely here. It's really gorgeous. Wonderful. Yeah. And that's the end of the movie. And like, it's such a, like you were saying, like just a pure distillation of what cinema can do, of just summing up the entirety of a story in 3 images, back to back to back. Yeah. Like I said in my review, emotionally supercharged Kuleshov effect. It's crazy. It's nuts.
Yeah. Creating an idea completely just by it just really made me cry.
Yeah.
I was so blindsided by it.
Yeah, the book ends in pretty much the same exact way. Okay. They have the interaction, Maurice and Clive, and then it says Maurice had disappeared, leaving no trace of his presence except a little pile of the petals of the evening primrose, which mourned from the ground like an expiring fire. To the end of his life, Clive was not sure of the exact moment of departure, and it just talks about how Clive would always remember this for the rest of his life, and then it talks about he remembers his friend beckoning to him, clothed in the sun, and shaking out the scents and sounds of the May term. And then it says he realized this was the end, and then he returned to the house to correct his proofs and devise some method of concealing the truth from Anne. And that's the end of the book.
Wow. Both extremely valid ways of conveying that emotion.
Yeah.
And both speak to the strengths of their respective mediums. And
I think so.
Man.
So that's more.
But I think it's interesting that the book also contains that flashback. I didn't remember that.
That is
right.
Interesting.
That is,
to illustrate that in that way. Yeah, I mean that's the movie. Anything to add before we get to criteria? All right, let's jump on in then.
No, sorry, I was just remembering the god awful mustaches. That's the only thing I had left.
Yes.
I've already talked about it. So
wait, my recording just stopped. Why did it stop? I'll just start it again.
Good. No worries.
Another one.
Thank you. Let's jump on into criteria. So, historical and technical relevance. How do we feel? I mean, I'll toss out. I mean, we kind of opened the episode with it. It's almost like a negative point here. Like, just there is no historical. Like, nobody talks about this movie.
Which is crazy.
Movie, like, I think it's worth discussing.
Yeah, nobody talks about this movie. Not even within the celluloid closet. Not even within any of these queer cinema discussions. It's really strange to me. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's very. I've talked about so many times how, like, if I think about for too long the breadth and depth of cinema and how I will never see so much stuff, there's just so much out there that, like, would probably be life-changing to me that I will never get to see for X, Y, and Z reason. Like, it sends me into a spiral a bit. But, like, that's the thing, is that this isn't some independent film that played twice in, like, Prague with no-name actors that you've never heard of that just happens to be this really wonderful gem. Like, Hugh Grant is in this. Like, it's James Ivory. Like, people with names and with careers that are known to, like, cinematic canon are a part of this movie and it isn't discussed, which is it's just interesting. I don't know why that is.
Yeah. I feel like it's gotten a little bit back in the conversation just through Letterboxd.
Yes.
A little bit. However, I do feel like it gives me hope. That thing you say, Parker, about the dread you feel around not being able to watch everything in the world.
Yeah.
I feel the opposite of that, where I feel such joy that I know there's always going to be more for me to watch. And I remember that feeling when I watched this movie. I remember it was at a time when I had been watching so many of, like, you know, the AFA's top 100 or whatever. And I was like, what if I run out of good things to watch? And then I tripped and fell and landed on this movie that, like, nobody had said anything about, that wasn't on any list, that wasn't on anyone's radar. I watched it and I was just in love with it. And I was like, isn't that so wonderful that there's classic things that I consider classics now that are, like, so gorgeous and so beautifully done and so much interesting to, like, there's so much to think about and talk about clearly. And then, like, it's just not on anyone's radar. And that's kind of lovely that, like, no matter how long I live, I'm going to be able to always find something else to watch. And if I run out of English films, that's great. Then I'll just get really into, like, Hindi films or whatever. And like, there's always going to be more incredible stuff to watch. And I think that's really, like, in a world where our consumption is so finite and so restricted, to have something with the, like, infinite, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the opposite of scarcity mindset, where, like, there's always going to be more movies. And they're always going to be available.
Sheer abundance to be had everywhere.
Abundance mindset.
Yes.
And it's just so lovely.
That is lovely.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful sentiment.
Also,
it is...
sorry, my battery's on low, so I'm going to move so I can plug in my laptop. I apologize.
All good.
You're all good.
We're nearing the end.
We are. It is interesting. I do think that this is, you know, this has been seen by 190,000 people on Letterboxd. But it's only related, you know, the related news section, the journal section of Letterboxd is, you know, I was thinking maybe it was on the Criterion channel or something. Maybe there's something like that. But the only two things there are, like, Letterboxd editors talking about their favorite movie romances. And then, like, around the time that Heretic came out, Hugh Grant broke down his filmography. And those are the two things that this is. So it seems like it is a niche romance that if someone has seen it is bound to recommend to others. Whether or not they choose to seek it out is kind of up to that person. And then, of course, the Hugh Grant of it all is what it's remembered for, which I think is a shame, because it is, you know, it's more than just, well, that was Hugh Grant's first film role.
Yeah.
It's...
This is not Mazes and Monsters. It is not Tom Hanks in the god-awful Dungeons and Dragons movie. And that's the
but imagine if there was this beautiful gay romance in Mazes and Monsters.
That would have elevated it. That would have elevated it.
Was there not, like, this amazing emotional Kuleshov effect at the end of Mazes?
Shockingly, no.
Tom Hanks looking at
it was him
dragon.
And Murray Hamilton really spice up the screen in that movie.
So yeah, I mean, I think this is worth talking about, and I'm glad that we can talk about it on this show, because, you know, the point of this show, which I feel like we do every other episode, we end up having to reiterate the point of the show, but it's like any movie has potential to be the greatest film ever made, whether it is discussed as such or not. And so I think this is a great example of a reason why it's great to look at things beyond the quote unquote greatest films of all time, because you miss things like Morris, right? So I don't think it really has a historical or technical relevance with which to even really discuss, but ideally that will be the case one day. Amy?
So. I do think there are references for those with eyes to see. Again, like in Call Me by Your Name, which is a screenplay written by James Ivory, there's a lot of, I think, echoes of this. And I think like there's references to this within queer cinema for those who know. But again, it's not like it changed the popular conversation.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. I like that. So I think point to Kane for this point, but, you know, have illustrated a lot of pluses in Morris's favor, I think. How well is it doing what it's trying to do when compared to Kane? What do we think?
I like what it's doing the more that I talk about it.
Yeah, I'm finding that as well. I do find that I'm liking more and more as we discuss it, for sure. I think I'm still in my mire of that third act. I just feel like it needs more breathing room for me to really latch on to this relationship in the way that I think the movie wants me to do. But that might be more of the next criteria point for me. But
go ahead, Amy.
I would just say I agree with you that I think the more I talk about it, the more I think like, yeah, I agree that they could have done the Alec romance in a more compelling way. And also I do think it's the perfect movie for like and of course it's based on a novel. It's like the perfect movie for like an English nerd who's like, and as you can see, the natural world is portrayed here as you know what I mean? Like I get to get out my highlighter and I get to like get all nitty gritty with it.
This is
really
primed
fun.
for an essay.
Yeah. So it's really fun. And that way, the more you look into it, the more you're impressed. So I think it absolutely sets out what it does to do, except for, unfortunately, like you said, I think something about the Alec of it all, I yearn for something greater.
It does. You know what it really does remind me of? And I said this more surface level going in to this episode, but it really does remind me of Orlando, 1992 with Tilda Swinton, in that is a movie that has a third act romance of sorts that is kind of like, you just kind of are like, oh, okay, and we're on board for this. I think that this movie would benefit from a really long shot of Alec in bed where we just get to like consider his beauty as Orlando does with Billy Zane, in which it's literally just like, look at him for long enough and you will see love and beauty and femininity in him, and you go, holy shit, you're right. And I just feel like maybe this movie would benefit from a shot like that, you know?
I completely agree, especially because there's so many gorgeous shots of Hugh Grant with his gorgeous hair and the gorgeous field. It's like Rupert Graves deserves that same amount of camera time, and they just don't give him the close-ups.
No, they don't give him the close-ups. We get a lot of shots of him kind of like sulking in the rain and in the background before he really comes forward. But once he comes forward, because of the nature of the blackmail plot, we don't get that like gorgeous close-up of like, consider loving him, and you're just like, wow, I really am considering loving him.
Like, it feels like what the movie is trying to do is to celebrate queer joy and gay love and like show that off, and the final, like, those last two cuts do such a wonderful job of that. And yet I don't think the movie seems to take the time. Like, I've talked about this multiple times, specifically in like the When Harry Met Sally episode. Like, with a good romance, we want to fall in love with these people. We want to watch a movie and fall in love with them falling in love and fall in love with each of them as individuals. And the movie doesn't seem to have the time or the energy. I won't say the intention, because I don't know what their intention was, but it's lacking something to get me to fall in love with one half of its central celebratory queer relationship, you know? And I think that feels like a bit of a failing.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's a little bit of to harken back to my previous appearance on the show, it's a little bit of a like Amy and Laurie situation, you know, as opposed to the Joe and Laurie situation, where we do just need to get Greta Gerwig in there with her toolbox, and we just need her to like zhuzh it up a bit, because it's just we need to add some yearning or something. I don't know.
Because when Morris is talking about Alec to Clive, that's when you start to believe in it, right? Because finally we're just having someone, even just him speaking of Alec in this way, we go, oh wow, yeah, like if you feel this way, we want to feel that way too.
Yeah.
And so it's missing that visual component, I think, for sure.
I agree.
But outside of that, like, I think that, again, I like the structure a lot.
Yeah.
I like the themes of class and society and nature, and like all of that is really effective in the movie, I think. And it looks stunning.
It
looks incredible.
I want that sweet Criterion 4K.
Yeah.
you know?
Give it to me. Yeah.
Give it to me.
Also, FYI, my mom just texted me that she's on her way to pick me up for dinner, and
we'll wrap it up. We'll wrap it up.
We're wrapping it up.
Okay, so
I got a half hour.
Yeah, I think that point to Kane for this, probably it's close. It's close for me, but I feel like Kane probably gets the point of how well it's trying to do what it's trying to do. But what do you guys think?
Ooh, this is actually
I could be persuaded otherwise. It feels very close to me.
It does feel very close to me.
It also feels very close to me. I don't know.
Okay, all right.
I think
glad we're in agreement on that.
Glad we're in agreement on this is hard.
It's pretty tough.
Here's the thing. Also, Cohen Media is who did the Blu-ray for Maurice.
Oh,
There's a
yes.
beautiful Blu-ray by Cohen Media.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I need to check that out and see if there's other special features. Yeah. Anyways, I think I maybe have to admit that Kane does what it's setting out to do slightly better if we're like crunching the numbers on this. Mm-hmm. That being said, I think I have Maurice on my top 4 right now. Like,
yeah,
right. Which is where the last piece of criteria and the much loved step back.
So with that in mind, do we feel okay with this point going into Kane, knowing we're going to the next criteria?
Sure.
I'll allow it.
This one to Kane, and then do we connect with it emotionally?
Yes.
Amy, I pass it to you. Yes. Yes. Yeah, and I do. I very much like again, those last 2 shots made me tear up. And that's big.
But even beyond that, like the blow up fight and you know, Maurice being like, I'm done, I'm over, I'm dead, I'm gone, my life is over. And the stuff with Risley, like that whole sequence is really upsetting. I feel that emotion in the way I'm supposed to. I fall in love with Clive and Maurice when they're in the field. Like, so much of this works emotionally and is resonant and is so effective.
Yeah.
And then you get to the ending, and you're just like, whoa! Like you leave this movie just being kind of like, you know, absolute cinema awesome movie. You know?
Yeah, totally.
And I think like any great piece of art, it makes it, as we're all discussing it, like it makes it exciting to look closer, and it makes you want to lean in and dig deeper and like get out your highlighter. And I think that's so lovely and fun and nerdy. Like, I just think that's so delightful. And not to say that obviously we've been doing that with Kane for decades, but it's fun to find something that it's a hidden gem, like you said. And I also think maybe like if we're comparing them, in Kane, you're not exactly like rooting for Kane as like your romantic hero, whereas it's a very different situation here where you're rooting for, you know, there's you're rooting for something entirely different. So the emotional connection is really different, whereas with Kane, I think it causes you to reflect on the world at large and society.
Kane is a much more intellectual film than it is an emotional film in that sense. Like, you leave Kane feeling more like, I gotta think about our relationship to power.
Yeah.
You know?
And then like with Maurice, it's just like all emotion. Like, I'm just like lying down on the ground of my living room, like crying quietly. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah. I think beautifully said on both fronts. So I would agree. I think point to Maurice on this one. So criteria is 2-1. Taking a step back, trying to look at it, do we think that Maurice is better than Citizen Kane?
That was me crunching the numbers. I'm
glad you're crunching the numbers, everybody. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's me crunching the numbers.
That was a great abacus. I liked that.
Thank you. Well, this was an abacus, and then this was me like nutcracker.
Literally crunching the numbers. I see. Yeah.
Thank you for understanding my visual comedy on this very much audio-based medium.
Not true.
I would say yes. If for nothing else, then just giving Maurice another leg up in its quest for recognition.
Sure.
You know, we've given other movies the better than title for our affection towards them, and I think we can also use it as a means of saying, hey, check this movie out, it's better.
Yeah. I think that's valid. What do you think, Amy?
I think this movie will make you feel better than Citizen Kane. I think.
Listen, as the resident Kane hater, I can attest to that.
I think that what does better even mean? I don't know. You know, like,
don't do that. We're gonna spiral out.
No, we've hit that wall.
We've done this many times.
Show. You just kind of have to just move with it.
Yeah, just let the river take you.
Yeah, and so then like, do I like this better than Citizen Kane? Is it better for me as a human being? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah, I think that's fair. And
if that's how you want to interpret the question, you do it.
Yeah. For my 2 cents, I think that, not burying the lead. We'll absolutely give it to Maurice, I think, and I think Amy should get to say it. I'll put my little asterisks of like, I think there are still some things that like, I look at the structure of Kane and I look at the structure of this, and I think that there is a more perfected, more like succinct version of structure that Kane is pulling off really, really well.
You're telling me that the structure of Citizen Kane is really good?
I know, I'm the first person who's
Get
ever said
out of
it,
here.
actually. I'm the first person ever to actually make that claim. So there are friction points for me about this that like, I sum it up in what I said at the beginning of like, for me personally, 3.5 stars. Considering what it is, sitting down and talking about it, this lovely, untalked about gem of a movie that has a lot to offer despite some of its flaws. Yeah, like that raises it to a 4. And I think that can be worth platforming. So,
and also, if I may, Parker, I just want to point out that your current rating of Citizen Kane is locked at a 3.5.
It is locked at a 3.5. I don't think it's moving anytime soon.
If we're just want to look at it objectively,
we're just looking at it.
If we just want to look at your rating objectively, you do believe.
Yeah, says the person who has put so much stock into Letterboxd ratings.
Huh? I've never done that.
Never done that. With all that said, Amy, would you like to say it definitively?
Maurice is better than Citizen Kane.
You heard it here first, folks. There it is.
And there you go. And you probably have heard that here first.
Yeah, I think that might be the first ever.
I still don't know how to say his name, you guys.
Hey, and that's okay. You know what? We made it through.
I mean, there is that remake they're doing with Maurice from Madagascar, and that'll clear things up a lot quicker.
Yeah, naturally.
But, yeah.
That'll go big. Thank you so much for coming, Amy. Thank you so much for bringing this. Had a lovely time discussing with you.
A joy.
Thank you.
A joy to have you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for letting me introduce you to one of my favorite little hidden gems of queer cinema.
Yeah.
Everyone go out there and be a little gayer, okay?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Just because it's July doesn't mean that you can't be a little gay.
Pride is year round.
Yeah.
If I have something to promote on this podcast, as many guests do on podcasts, my promotion is homosexuality.
Huge.
That's what you're plugging.
Big.
Yeah, my plug is be a little gayer. How can you be a little gayer? And I'm
Look
not
at
saying
your life.
You don't have to like make big changes, but there's little ways you can be gayer in your day-to-day life.
Little bits and pieces.
Yeah. Look at your life through.
Beautiful. I think that's beautiful. I love
gayness.
that.
Yeah, go lie down in a field, okay?
Yes.
Go lie down in a field and be gay. Have gay thoughts.
Why not?
There you go.
Yeah. What are we doing next time?
Next time is Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
I'm excited.
Happy 250th to our greatest country.
Salute.
Parker's been dreading this for years. I told him like a year and a half ago that we were going to do this.
I love this movie, and this movie just like destroys me. It's just
I've still never seen it.
I just recently acquired a copy for my own personal library. That's a very nice 75th anniversary Blu-ray. So
every time I go to watch it, I'm like, I just don't know if I can buy the idea,
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. I have so many thoughts on that. And the thing about Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, if I may, just really quick, is that it's not trying to sell you on America in the way that you think it is.
Yeah.
It's not saying America is so great. It's literally, it was written by a card-carrying communist.
Oh, good.
And directed by a Frank Capra who kept saying, fuck your themes, you're a communist.
Yeah. Good.
He was so mad. But it is a movie that literally has basically Jimmy Stewart going, wait, you mean to tell me that America's awful? And it's like, yeah, man. And then he's literally just telling everyone, guys, America's awful. We have to change this. The difference being that the movie itself is not recognizing that's always been the case. Anyway, I'll get into this on the episode. I'm sorry.
We'll get there.
I'm so excited.
I have watched many Jimmy Stewart fan cam edit based on this movie, so I do need to watch it just for his hair alone. But that being said, think gay thoughts, everybody.
Well, and also, Amy, if I can help you think gay thoughts, Jean Arthur in the movie is just is
Yeah.
gorgeous. She's an
I'm
absolute
listening.
smoke show in the movie.
Yeah.
And there's literally a shot where she just is gazing at you because you are Jimmy Stewart in that moment, and you just watch her fall in love with you, and it's
a big
amazing.
moment.
So that's my pitch to you.
I'm sold.
Okay, great.
So
Well,
look
Mr.
forward to
Smith
that
goes to
next time,
Washington.
everyone.
Yep.
Take
Okay.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.